This roster review is for Anraeth Erith of Wampanoms, and he has a GP of about 3.2 million. He's a small dolphin, and he earns about 150 crystals per day for free. He wants me to take a look at his squad arena, his fleet arena, his factions and teams, and then help him set some goals and priorities for his development in the game. All right, Anraeth, you are running Jedi Knight Revan in Arena, which is a top-tier team. It's not the top-tier team, which is Darth Revan right now, but you're doing really well. You're coming in under 200 consistently in Arena, and that's going to help keep you getting those free crystals. Other than switching to a team like Darth Revan or possibly General Grievous, this team is the one you're going to want to run. You've got all of the gear, all of the Zetas done. So this team is going to perform optimally on that level. But what I did notice is your mods. You really need to work on your mods. You want Jedi Knight Revan to be your fastest character here, and you want to run your fastest speed set with either a health set or a crit chance set. Grandmaster Yoda needs to come in right behind Jedi Knight Revan in speed, so you're going to want to run him as fast as you can, but he's your main damage dealer, and I highly recommend putting an offense and crit chance set on him. Right now your mods are a little jumbled, and I understand you're doing a lot of this for speed, but this team is not going to perform as optimally as it could if it's modded correctly. For Jolee, you're going to want to run all health sets on him. You've got a crit damage square up there, and I'm not sure why. I think it's probably speed, but you want as much health on Jolee as possible. So for your circle, your cross, and your triangle, definitely put health primaries on those and take those to gold so you get the 16% bonus. The arrow, you can run a health set or a health primary on that as well, or you can run the speed with him. Okay, your Bastila and General Kenobi, they need a little bit of speed. They need to be durable. Bastila is going to hit for some pretty good damage, so you can run either health sets or a crit damage, crit chance combination with her, something along those lines. With Kenobi, just put all health sets on him, make him as durable and as fast as you can. Okay, your fleet arena team is in pretty rough shape given what the state of the meta is right now. You don't have Han Solo's Millennium Falcon, which just dominates everything else in the game. But what you do have is your Houndstooth. You're working on Bossk. You're working on Houndstooth. So that development is good. You've got a lot of other ships that are high-quality star level, and the pilots do have some development. So you're not in a horrible spot, but it's going to be very hard for you to break the top 50, which is where you start getting those extra crystals. My advice, work on your Geonosians. This is going to help you in territory battles, and you're going to have to gear those Geonosians anyway. Their ships are really good. It's going to be a good second or third fleet for you in Grand Arena or in Territory Wars. The big work, though, is probably going to be in getting your bounty hunter ships to at least 5 stars so you can unlock the Millennium Falcon. Ideally, you'll get them to 7 stars, and then you'll be able to have a very powerful Han's Millennium Falcon. Let's take a look at your bounty hunter ships and just see where we're at. Okay, so your Houndstooth is pretty much done. Your Slave 1 is done. It's the Xanadu Blood and the IG-2000. So I understand the issue here is because those are hard-node farms, and as we'll see in a minute, you've got a lot of other things to consider farming, and it may just be impossible for you to do everything all at once. Okay, so let's take a look at your factions and see what needs to be done with each of those, and then later on we're going to go back and set some priorities because you do have a lot of work. Let's start off with your bounty hunters, which aren't looking bad at all. You've got Zeta Bossk, you've got Boba and Dengar. This is really good. Your Jango Fett is almost 7 stars, and I'm pretty sure you're working on him in combination with Houndstooth, so that's going to be good. What you're going to want to do is take Jango to Gear 11 and maybe take Zam or Cad Bane or IG-88, probably Cad and IG-88 because of the ships later on. Take them to Gear 10, maybe 11, and you're going to have a really solid bounty hunter faction. Right now, the clones aren't a very useful faction. Even with Shaak Ti, they aren't a top tier B team. They can beat some stuff. They're not as bad as they once were, but I'm not sure they're a high priority yet just for you. So I wouldn't really worry about working on them right now. Your Rex is looking good enough. You've got a little bit of development on everybody else, so you're in good shape with clones. You've got some really good development on your Empire team. You've got Emperor Palpatine, Vader, Thrawn, Tarkin. Those are all really developed. The one thing that I'm going to suggest you develop a little bit more is your Imperial Probe Droid. I'd like to see it level 85, and I'd like to see it Gear 8, Gear 9. And what this is going to allow you to do is run a team like Palpatine, Vader, Tarkin, TIE Fighter Pilot, which also needs a little bit of work, and Imperial Probe Droid. That team alone will be able to kill things like Zeta Karth. Your Ewoks are in pretty rough shape, and you really need to develop these out because C-3PO is such a valuable character, and you don't have him yet. And that's because your Ewoks just aren't good enough for the unlock. You are going to want to focus on Chief Chirpa and Wicket, get their stars to 7 stars as soon as you can to prepare for the next C-3PO event. You're going to want some gear on these guys because that event is pretty hard. So your team is going to be Chief Chirpa, which will need the Zeta, Wicket, Elder, Logray, and Poplu. Take them all to at least Gear 10. Ewok Elder, go ahead and take him to Gear 11. Wicket, I would suggest take to Gear 11, and then the others you might be able to pull through with just Gear 10. And Ewoks are a great faction on their own, honestly. These guys, they gain a bunch of turn meters, so they don't hit very hard, but they go a lot, and they are very durable because Wicket can keep Elder under stealth. If you lose anybody else, Elder can revive them. Poplu taunts. Logray throws out mass daze and shuts down other teams that have turn meter gain. So you're going to be able to beat teams like the Phoenix Squad, like Zeta Crew, some really decent teams that you're going to see on defense in Grand Arena and Territory Wars. Speaking of the First Order, yours aren't that bad. This is a pretty good defense team. You've got some gear and the stars done on pretty much everybody. You can run Kylo Unmasked with Kylo Ren, and First Order Executioner, First Order Officer, and First Order TIE Pilot, and you've got yourself a pretty decent defensive team. I wouldn't invest any more gear in these guys, though, because they are kind of falling out of favor and defensively because they can be beaten by such things as Ewoks, which everybody is going to have now. This might start to transition to a more offensive team. But for right now, you've got plenty of development. Don't worry about anything else on First Order. Your Galactic Republic team looks like you've got some pretty good work invested in them so far. You don't have Padme, but you do have Ahsoka Tano's stars finished. She's Gear 11. She's getting ready to go. Jedi Knight Anakin is Gear 9. He needs one more star, and he's going to need the gear, and he'll be ready to go. And those two with Padme and General Kenobi, which is already done, are the core of the Galactic Republic team. You can run them with C-3PO once you get him. You could develop out Barriss Offee, or you could even use Clone Wars Chewbacca. You've got your Geonosians all to 7 stars, which is great, except for the Brood Alpha, which just came out, and that's understandable. You wouldn't have him done yet. These guys you are going to want to take to Gear 12 because you will need them for the territory battles. They need the gear for their ships to function correctly, and they're going to need their gear to survive these insane battles. They are going to get a rework, so it's anticipated they're even going to get better than they are now, and they might even be a really good Grand Arena B team. I don't know that they'll be an A tier, but they should be very serviceable. Your Imperial Troopers, you do have a Troopers team that's possible to field. You don't have the Zeta on Veers, but this team is pretty good. At Gear 8, Gear 9, they're not going to get as much work done as if they were at, say, Gear 10, Gear 11. It's going to help. That kind of gear is going to help them be more survivable as well as do more damage. I don't know at this point in the game if it's going to be worth it for you to start gearing out these characters and invest in a Zeta on them. So I think what I would advise here is just focus on Death Trooper, because Death Trooper works in many other factions. He works with Empire. He can kill characters that are really annoying like Nest. He can stop Nightsisters from reviving. The Death Mark from Death Trooper is a very valuable piece to have in a team. So keep working on him, maybe not work so much on the rest of them. You're running Jedi in Arena, which we're not going to spend a whole lot of time covering these, but your other notable Jedi, you actually do have Hermit Yoda finished with the Zeta. He's probably good at Gear 11. You've got Ezra Bridger at Gear 11 with the Zeta. You've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you did have a luxury Zeta, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you can throw one on him and he'll do his double taunt, which can be annoying, but I don't know that it's really worth it in the grand scheme of things. But your Jedi look okay. Nightsisters are one of the best factions in the game. They get a lot of work done. Yours aren't looking bad at all. You've got Mother Talzin's leadership Zeta. You've got Asajj Ventress with her Rampage Zeta. Your zombies gear 11. So your Nightsisters overall aren't looking bad. But I'm going to recommend you go ahead and take them all to at least gear 11. Not all of them, but your core team, which is going to be Talzin, Ventress, Zombie. You're going to want to go ahead and get her 7-star. Old Daka needs to go up there, and Nightsister Spirit. Nightsister Spirit for player versus player, and Talia for player versus environment. Spirit is going to do a lot of damage. She's going to be your main damage dealer there. She can stun, she removes buffs, she's really good. Talia is solid for the healing ability, so you're going to want to invest in both. Okay, this is exciting. Your Old Republic characters are ready to go for Darth Revan. This is looking good. You're going to have to put a little bit more gear on them for Malak, but that's going to be worth it. Trust me on this one. If you get Malak, the gear investment is going to be worth it. So you're also going to be able to run the Zeta Karth team, which is durable. It's a pretty good defensive team for territory wars and Grand Arena. It's also loaded with offense. You can use it either way. So consider putting a little bit more gear on Karth, Canderous, Zalbar, and Mission. Juhani and T3 are the ones that I would not gear because you won't need them for the mission, for the Malak mission, for the Malak event. Your Phoenix squad looks just fine. There's no real other need for these characters in the game right now, so don't worry about doing anything more to them. They're fine. Even as pilots, they're going to be fine where they're at. Your Rebels are looking really solid. You've got Commander Luke and Han Solo, both Gear 12, 7 stars with their Zetas. What I'm not seeing is Chewbacca, who, oh, there he is, down at the bottom, 6-star. You got him to 6. He's got the Zeta. You're starting to work on the gear for him. That is fantastic. I looked a couple of days ago, and you had him at, I think, Gear 3. 5 stars, so putting in the work on him, he is such a valuable character on that team. He is going to do, he's damage. He's just pure damage. He's going to be able to remove taunts. Very valuable. Commander Luke, Han Solo, and Chewbacca as a trio, that's what you're going after. So go ahead and keep gearing Chewbacca to gear 11 and eventually gear 12. And what you're going to do when you run them as a team, you're going to have that core, and you want to make sure Commander Luke is your weakest character because Chewbacca gives guard to the weakest character, and when that character uses an ability, Chewbacca will assist. So think about running a couple of big tanks with him. Your Obi-Wan Kenobi looks great. You can run R2-D2 with him, and there you go. Resistance has fallen out of favor a little bit, so where they're at Gear 11, I think you're pretty good to get a decent amount of work done. They're not going to be quite as usable in the raid. They're still going to be pretty good on offense for Grand Arena Championship, so I don't know that I would worry about investing a ton more into these guys. But if you did, go ahead and take Rey, R2 definitely, BB-8, and Finn to Gear 12 if you choose that investment. Resistance Trooper, you're probably going to want to take him to Gear 12 as well. And what you can do is run, let's assume you're running R2-D2 with Commander Luke Skywalker. Sometimes that's going to work. Sometimes it's going to be better to use him in Resistance. But you can use Rey, BB-8, Rey Scavenger, Finn, and Resistance Trooper on their own, or you can pull one of them out like Resistance Trooper and put in R2-D2. Your other option would be to gear and star Holdo. She's actually a decent tank. I don't think she gets enough credit in this game. But with everything else you've got to do, I think this is a low priority team to work on. Okay, Rogue One. Again, there's not a whole lot of use for them as a faction. You've got some pilots. Your gear looks pretty good unless you're going to do the insane Biston team, but really Scarif Rebel Pathfinder and Biston take a lot of gear, and just for the ship, it's not going to be worth it. So don't worry about Rogue One at all. They're good where they are. Okay, your Scoundrels. I wouldn't worry about this section too much either, but there are a couple of things that I want to point out that I really think you should work on. L337 is a very solid tank, and taking her up to gear 10, gear 11, I think that's going to benefit you because she's really plug and play. She can fit on the Commander Luke Rebels team, and she'll operate as that tank if you don't want to use R2-D2 or Old Ben. Enfys Nest, that's the big one here. She is so good, and she solos teams like Ewoks or Phoenix Squad. If somebody places them on defense in Grand Arena, you can just steamroll them with Nest, and she can do a lot of work on other teams too. She is just a phenomenal character. Gear 12, 7-star her with the Zeta. It's a very good investment. It's going to last over time. Okay, your Separatist. This is an easy one. Get them all to 7 stars, gear 12. They're going to be needed for the Geonosis territory battles, and that's going to be worth it. The Grievous team is really good. Asajj and Dooku, they have their own special mission in territory battles, and it's looking like right now Count Dooku will need the Zeta for that. I don't know that that's a high priority for you, just something to look out for. When the Geonosians get their reworks, they're probably going to be a really good faction too. So just keep plugging along, pick up people's stars where you can, start gearing, start taking them to level 85. These guys are going to be around for a while. Your Sith are in good shape for what you're going to use them for. You've almost got Darth Traya done. Go ahead and take her to gear 12. That's going to make her a little bit more tanky, hit a little bit harder, but the real combination is just going to be using Darth Traya, Darth Nihilus, and Darth Sion in Grand Arena Championships. That team, for the most part, can go on their own, and you'll get very easy undersized squad wins. Those 3 can take out Padme and down. A very well modded, an appropriately modded team can take out even Jedi Knight Revan. I don't know that you're going to want to try to push that far, that hard with them, but really this is either a top tier B team now or a bottom of the barrel A team. So I like where you're at here. Go ahead and invest that gear in Traya, and I think you'll be fine. Okay, when you eventually get Darth Revan, you're going to want to gear your HK-47 as well as your Sith Trooper. Those are going to be the main ones on the team, and of course, Bastila Fallen. Malak would be your 5th, but if you don't have Malak, think about Sith Marauder. You can plug and play any Sith, but to get all the bonuses, you're going to want somebody from the Sith Empire. Sith Marauder does a ton of damage, and he's really not that hard of a gear. He's much more gear-friendly than Sith Assassin. So keep that in the back of your head for now, and don't worry too much until you do get Revan. Not going to talk a lot about the smugglers. We've already talked about them as Scoundrels. L337 and Enfys Nest are the 2 that you really want to go after. L337 is going to tank for you in multiple situations, and Nest is just going to destroy on offense. Your roster's really well-rounded, but there's more breadth than depth. So the goals that I have for you will be to help maximize the usefulness of your teams. You're close on the Bounty Hunter team, so finish that and get that Wookiee to 7 stars. Chirpa and Wicket, finish those stars for C-3PO. Make sure you're gearing these guys and make them the top priority for gear after you get your Bounty Hunters done. You also want to gear your Nightsisters, but that can come after Ewoks. This is going to give you a very good all-around team for offense and defensive play. Your top single character gear is Chewbacca. Go ahead, max him out at gear 11 until you get him 7 stars. That's going to be the biggest impact because it's going to take your CLS and Han Solo to a whole new level. Your B1 and your Nest, they are the Nightmare Fleet Node farms, so go ahead and get moving on those. Your Houndstooth will finish along with Jango, so you don't have to worry about that too much. Your Traya, she's going to finish her stars naturally from the raids, but investing some gear into her will give her a lot more survivability, and it's going to give you another massively good team with a triumvirate. Also, make sure you go ahead and put that second Zeta on her. Okay, so you're farming and your nodes in the order. Your fleet node, go ahead and get B1 done, then do Nest. If you decide to do Nest first, I can't really argue with that. What B1 is going to do is help you with the territory battles and with the Grievous team. Your Cantina node, focus down Chirpa right now. That way, when C-3PO comes back around, you're going to be ready for him. Then go after your Brood Alpha. And the reason that I say that is if you had Brood Alpha right now, he's just another one that you're going to have to gear, and the reworks haven't come for the Geonosians, so it may not even help to have him 7-star Gear 12 right now. Your hard nodes. Finish Bosk and Django. They're both at 6 stars, so they're going to finish pretty quickly. After that, make sure you've got Bad Stilla to 7 stars. I did notice that she was 6 stars, and in order to get Darth Revan the next time, you are going to need her at 7 stars. After that, go after Wicket. Wicket is probably going to be your longest farm, so it's okay because you're so close on the others that I think you can get those done in the next few weeks, and then you'll still have a little bit of time to finish out Wicket. You're just going to have to go hard on him. Later on, when you get all that done, you're going to go back and pick up Droidica, Anakin, and Nightsisters Zombie. So the time frame for all of this, finish Chirpa and Wicket and Bad Stilla by September 1st. That's about the time that the C-3PO event is going to come back, as well as Darth Revan. Now your secondary goal here is a Gear 12 Grievous by the end of July, sometime in early August maybe. And the reason I say that is that's about the time that I would expect Padme to come back, and you're really pretty close to getting her. And the biggest reason I'm putting this as a secondary goal is that your Galactic Republic team, such as Anakin and Ahsoka and General Kenobi, they are already very well geared for the most part. Their stars are looking good, and Padme is one of the top tier teams on the level with the Revans. So keep that in mind. If you take a short break to throw some gear on Grievous, that's totally fine, but make sure you do get your Ewoks geared by the time C-3PO rolls around. All right, man, that's all I got for you, and I wish you the best of luck with this, and always let me know if you need anything, if I can be of help in some other way, you got a quick question, shoot me a message, and I'm always there. All right, take it easy.